Well, there is a Remembrance Day story that we do begin with today. Hockey commentator Don Cherry is facing backlash for saying new immigrants in Canada, don't wear poppies and don't support veterans. So he made the discriminatory remarks on Coach's Corner on Saturday night. Now, since then, the station Sportsnet has apologized for his comments. Ron McLean is co-host. Well, he also nodded along, but has since apologized. But nothing from Don himself. The question we begin with is, should he be fired? Oh, I know how I feel. How do you ladies feel?
Well, let's see how Ashley feels on Facebook. She says he absolutely should not be fired. Don Cherry spoke the words of what many people are thinking. Ashley, first part, I agree that he should not be fired because this is Don Cherry being Don Cherry on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. This is what Don Cherry has been doing since the entire time he's been on television, basically. But number two, that he spoke words of what many people are thinking. I would argue that new Canadians, there's a good chance that they understand World War I and World War II better than some of us do because of their citizenship tests. And also because there's a good chance that they've come from war-torn countries, and so they understand war, they understand totalitarian regimes, which is what people in World War I and World War II were fighting against and dying for. And also they're world wars. It didn't just happen in Canada. So there's a good chance that new Canadians understand exactly what is going on in World War I and World War II. Like, sorry, Ashley, strongly disagree.
I absolutely think it should be game over for Don Cherry. Absolutely. He has said these kinds of things for some time now. And, you know, it could be new immigrants, it could be immigrants as a whole. But I would want Mr. Cherry to know, if he happens to be watching this broadcast, that he would be talking about my parents who emigrated from Canada and were new immigrants some 50-something years ago, and who contributed greatly to this country, and who proudly wear their poppies. Remembrance Day, my mom is one of the first in line to buy her poppy. My dad as well, and are proud to be Canadians. They've contributed to this. And this kind of vitriol that he spouts is hurtful. And I'm just wondering whether the executives in charge have the courage to fire someone like this who is considered a Canadian icon. It takes courage to do that. But I will relate this to another case, and that would be of Roseanne Barr, who had the #1 show in the United States of America and went on a Twitter rant and was fired immediately, or close to, you know, ranting about almost immediately. And I think you've got to have courage to do that. There was also a black executive who was part of that decision, and I think diversity on the executive level plays a huge part here, because then you can hear people's personal stories and understand why this is so hurtful, and it is.
Yeah. Well, so Wendy on Facebook says he always speaks from his heart. I imagine people in his age demo would say the same things. It's an old man's opinion, and thank goodness we live in a country free from persecution from expressing it. And Wendy, I agree with some of the things you're saying. I mean, the thing is he's not just like a regular person. He is somebody who is a public broadcaster, a very well-loved public broadcaster, who has a voice that means a lot to people and that has impact. And I think that you have to weight it slightly differently. But I do agree that I think his statement started off probably well-intentioned in his mind. I think he comes from a good place. He loves his country. Yeah. He respects veterans. But then it went off the rails. And to me, what you're getting is a tiny window into the way in which this man sees otherness and other people and new people. And I think that's what people are really reacting against. But having said that, I don't think we should fire him, because to me what this will do is it will make some people hold him up as a martyr. Yeah. And it will, you know, fan the flames of divisiveness more and more. But the fact is, if Don Cherry was listening, I would love for him to know or comment on the fact that people from different countries have experienced more racial persecution in this country more recently than it keeps on coming up time and time again in the news. That's something we should be concerned about, because again, his statements fan the flames of that kind of racism. He may have meant it as a throwaway, you know, I'm being patriotic. It may be indicative of a time period that he grew up in, where if you were going off to world wars, you kind of had to think in divisive terms. It was us and them. It was fighting for this. It was fighting, like, he's been entrenched in a kind of mentality that frankly, I think a lot of people have kind of evolved from. And I'll give you one quick example of somebody. Because again, I'm going to say there are many reasons why people might not wear a poppy. One is because they fall off very easily. I'm just going to say that. And again, Don Cherry, there's another reason why I thought I would point at this. Harry Leslie Smith, he is a World War II veteran. He died in Belleville last year. So he was born in England, the UK. He came to Canada. He openly stated that he had not worn a poppy since 2013 because he believed, and I quote, "The spirit of my generation has been hijacked by latter-day politicians to sell dubious wars in Afghanistan and Iraq." So he chose not to wear a poppy, and that was his reasoning. Again, there are many different reasons why people might not wear a poppy, and it may not mean that they do not love or support their country.
I want to just jump on that because it is a huge assumption to make that because someone is not wearing a poppy, we wear them proudly here, but for the reasons that you said, that someone else might on the street not be wearing them. I gave probably more money this year to the Legions than I ever have in years past, but I don't have the poppy on one jacket, or I have it on one jacket, I don't put it on the other jacket, right? But I have given money and I have supported our veterans
People
and our
contribute in
soldiers.
different
Yes,
ways.
people contribute. So it comes down to this question of performing your honor, that just because you're not wearing the poppy, does that mean you don't honor and respect soldiers? That's a big stretch, John. You know, that's the other thing. And this is the thing, I agree with you. I do believe Don Cherry, he needs to be made an example of. When you have the honor and privilege of sitting in chairs like this and speaking to the country, this is a very powerful platform. We take it very seriously, and with power comes responsibility. We do our research, we read as much as we possibly can, because we know you cannot use this platform and just spout an idea off the top of your head. You gotta know what the heck you're saying. And I feel like the very minimum that I expect from people on television is to know a little bit about what you're talking about. So in the spirit of that, Don Cherry, I would like you to meet our Minister of National Defense. His name is Harjit Sajjan. He is not only a former Lieutenant Colonel in the Canadian Armed Forces, he is also the first Sikh Canadian to command a Canadian Army Reserve, and he is a decorated soldier for his service in Afghanistan, born in India and a proud Canadian today.
Yes!
That's
Give me goosebumps. Look at that.
I just want to get in Jessica here on Twitter. She says, he went on television and spread hate. To me, that's pretty serious. Clearly, he's out of touch with society, and maybe a dose of cancel culture will wake him up and send a sign to others. There you go.
I just want to say, Don, I just have one thing to say. Stick to hockey. We are going to take a break. We are going to take a break. After the break, we are going to go through all the hottest looks from the People's Choice Awards. That's coming up.